Yeah, I know you want to see Cam. I promise you will get to see Cam's beautiful face in just a second. But first, if you sign up for my coaching program in the next 7 days and pay in full, you will get access to the coaching program for 18 weeks. That is 18 weeks of life changing, amazing advice, love, support, mentorship. There is a link in the description below. Click it and let's fucking go.
Hello, everybody. This is Cameron. I am Andy's assistant coach coming back at you with another video. And today we're going to be talking about settling. Why men and women do this, why we might all be afraid of this happening, why I myself did this and sparked a fear of falling back into such a situation. Yes, I'm going to delve into a story from the earliest days of my relationship and dating life. I do want to start by defining exactly what I mean by settling. And it's to me anyway, has a very particular definition versus what other people might suggest could be seen as settling. I view this as being in a relationship or any kind of dating situation with someone that you are not attracted to in terms of personality or physically or whatever combination of those things is important to you, and you persist with it anyway for reasons we'll get into later. What I don't really mean are situations where you're dating someone, but you feel like the relationship is lacking in some way, or you feel like there's something missing in terms of a click, but there is something that could be built there. There is potential there. It's not really about your attraction to them. Andy has so many videos, has an entire playlist about how to build great relationships, how to build something between you and somebody else. And I would suggest go and watching that if you're in something where it feels like there's attraction, but there's like a lack of something, and it's meaning you're not fully enjoying it. So yeah, great relationships have to be built. Andy goes into great detail in communication, honesty, getting girls on your team and guys on your team, building something special together. But today we're talking more about being stuck, although you're never really stuck, it's your decision, in a relationship with someone that you are no longer attracted to or never really were that attracted to, but you went into the thing anyway. The biggest story I have in my own experience is my first proper long-term relationship. And it followed my first full relationship, because my first relationship, the first girl I ever had sex with, had anything with, was more of a long distance thing. And in terms of face-to-face time, we only really had a few weeks. So I don't really count that as my first relationship. My first real relationship was actually the third girl I ever had sex with. And it was about a year long, this relationship. And I realized I wasn't that attracted to her after about 2 months. So you can see there that I very much settled into something where I'd realized fairly early on that I wasn't that attracted to the girl. And yet it went for 12 months as opposed to the 2 that it took me to realize what I realized. I had a bit of video marketing material like a year ago that I was playing around with, where I was discussing the pitfalls of dating that the modern man needs to avoid. And one of those was settling. And it very much comes from my experience in this relationship where, you feel like you're giving your time and your energy, and obviously your sexual energy as well, to someone that you don't really want to be around. It's very draining. It triggers all your insecurities as well, I guess. Like, we'll talk about that in a second with like the reasons, I guess, why I stuck in that relationship, and I think the reasons why guys do settle. Like, being complacent and feeling complacency and you're aware of it isn't very fun, Being around someone when you don't really want to sleep with them as well, and putting yourself through those motions, that is incredibly draining. I will never do that again. I will never put myself in a situation where someone is expecting like sex from me and expecting also emotional intimacy from me, and I am giving it to them and it feels like a chore. I never ever want to be in that situation again. It's not something I want anyone to really be going through. I'm not one of those people who has any kind of like, we should plan society this way and we should do like, I guess it's more conservative, like religious elements who want to essentially keep people in relationships or whatever like that. But I have too much empathy for people who feel stuck in relationships, who feel stuck in those situations. I can't bring myself to ever want to force people to go through that. And I wasn't even like, it's not even like we were married or had a child or anything. I know I guess I was gonna say I was young and silly and inexperienced and didn't know that I could just, walk away from the whole thing and I would be okay. I didn't know that I could let that person down and they would be okay. There was very much I didn't want to break their heart kind of thing. I wanted to make them happy. And in trying to please them, I was, not looking after my own needs and what I wanted. And I think that's for a lot of people, that's going to be a big one. I hope I'm conveying a sense of like the emotions that I felt during this, the way I felt during my settling relationship, which looking back was one of the bigger mistakes I made. There's also some like, less like high-end emotional stuff where I think I gave up some like a good year of my life. I gave up an opportunity where I was living in a great metropolitan city for dating, and instead of being out there learning to date, being single, I instead, was giving my energy to someone I wasn't that attracted to. It feels looking back like a big waste of time. And I just did a video with Andy where I talk about, time wasted isn't a bad thing. Looking back on these events, you try not to look back on them with too much sadness, but also not too much being hard on yourself for the decisions you made. Try and look at the positives. And I can reframe this experience I had with positives too. Like, to be honest, I got a lot of sexual experience with this girl. Like, I learned how to have sex probably mostly from this one girl. I had all of the good relationship management skills that I have from this girl. I had just basic understanding of like how a relationship works, all that stuff, how two people can, function together, living with someone else for a little bit as well. I learned those skills. I think there was a lot of positives that came out of it, but the overall feeling while I was in it kind of fuels me to not end up in that situation again. And that itself is a positive, like a learning experience. Like that was a learning experience for me. So I want to delve in more into like as the theory and analysis of what settling is and why. So I had a bunch of reasons I put down on my phone for why do guys settle or why do girls settle, The big ones I got were fear of being alone, laziness, the social benefits of being in a relationship, and not wanting to hurt another person. Those are like my big four. We've got to say fear of being alone is a big one. Whenever I hear people talk about settling into relationships that they aren't super psyched about, I think they feel like they would rather be alone than not be in that. Sorry, they would rather not be alone than not be in a relationship with someone. So they will happily take someone they can get, someone that they know will stick with them versus someone that they know they may be super attracted to or make them happier. I can empathize with people who have this. I personally am no longer in a situation where I would feel this way. I feel like it makes me feel more like a man, to be honest, to say to myself, no, I'm not going to settle. I'm going to go out there and find someone that like is into me that I'm really attracted to. Or also, I would rather be alone and single than go back to that situation again. Be in a situation where I'm with someone who makes me, like, basically it brings up my insecurities. It brings up, oh, is this kind of the best I can do? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And it's not like objectively the other person is terrible. It's just they're not for you. And this idea that you aren't able to go out and get what you want because, you aren't attractive enough, or maybe you haven't got, I guess, the balls as a man to go out there and find what you want, or you haven't got the commitment to, taking this seriously and going out and getting that. We'll talk about this in terms of like the things you have to do to solve this problem. But the main one is obviously, self-improvement and actually going to find the girls, talking to girls and becoming more attractive. So those are the things you have to do. And if you stick with someone because you're afraid, it's because you haven't really put enough time into those things potentially. Like if you go and put time into those things, you will find more girls who excite you. You will find more girls who meet more of the boxes than the girl that you are potentially settling for. Attached to this is laziness, which is the other one I put down. Complacency and laziness. Like, it's just easier to be in a relationship. And like, I think it wasn't Good Looking Loser who said this. It was someone famous. It was like, most people live lives of comfortable misery or something like that. And that pretty much sums it up. Like, you want to be comfortable. You don't want to go out there and, take a risk. Leaving the person in the first place is a risk. You just want to be comfortable. You just want to watch TV with someone and, Netflix your life away. It's like, okay, that's fine. probably not the audience that is watching this video that feels like that. You know what I mean? Probably the audience that comes to Andy and comes to myself and would want to go into our coaching group and stuff like that probably aren't going to accept, oh, I'm just lazy as an excuse, you know? Next one down was social benefits of being in a relationship. This was an interesting one because like, even if you don't fully like the person you're with in like an exciting romantic sort of way, there are benefits, you know, to being in a relationship. There are benefits, like there's more social proof that you get from having a girlfriend. There's, you know, you always have something to go out and do. Like you bring someone to like groups with your friends to go out. You probably go out more when you are in a relationship with somebody, although that's actually not true. If you're single and being aggressive about, you know, finding girls, you will be out a lot. But typically for someone who's single and spends all their time alone, maybe they'll be out less than someone who is in one of these relationships. So that was an interesting one because that was big for me, like having a girlfriend at last to like show to all my friends and my parents, etc. like that. That was actually kind of a big deal for me, just to be able to say, hey, I've got a girlfriend now, come and meet her. And the last one was not wanting to hurt another person, which, yeah, the problem with this one is the longer you let this go on for, to potentially an inevitable end. And I think in a lot of situations where people aren't that keen on their partner, it will eventually end. Like they can only put up with that for so long. And the more you drag this out, the worse it's going to be. I don't really have anything good to say about this other than obviously if you feel this way, you're like obviously an empathetic person. You do actually care for the other person that you're with. But it's a bad reason in my mind. And I don't necessarily like using the word bad. Like I'm trying to see the positives in this, but nah, it's like if you drag it out, it was like in my situation, it was like 2 months versus 12 months, you know? I could have ended it at 2 months and it probably would have been easier for the other person to get over. As it was, I don't think it was very easy for them to get over that situation. So it's one of those things where the quicker you cut things off, and I know some people are a little bit more brutal about this than others. I know guys who are like out there grinding right now, cold approach and online, know that, you know, some girls are very brutal and don't give a lot of option. And maybe guys are the same way to girls, you know? But cut it off early. Better one quick stab to the heart than 20 all over the body, you know what I mean? Quick, early, when you figure out you're not really into them anymore, when you figure the chemistry is not really there, just end it there as early as you can so you don't drag the situation out. My whole story and my analysis of the situation informed me a long time ago that my preference over these settling relationships is to be single and dating. I would much rather be single than be in a relationship where I'm not super into the person. I think if you ask most people, they would agree. It's just that there are people who forget this and like, you know, they get affected more by the reasons that we talked about. But I do feel like I have read that the community I'm talking to probably agrees with me. I really wanted to talk about this because I think the fear of settling for someone, now that I've had this experience and now I know, I guess, how much I dislike this idea, the fear of this happening to me in the future is what drives a lot of my self-improvement when it came to dating and relationships. I did not want to be someone that settled like this. I did not want to be someone who ended up with someone I wasn't attracted to. And a lot of that drove my, you know, me seeking higher quality girls, me seeking the girls, being able to get the girls that I always wanted. That's what drove a lot of this. And that's also how you get out of being stuck in these situations. It is with self-improvement. It is with being able to talk to more girls. So you want to, you know, kill your approach anxiety, improve your looks, improve the way you talk to girls, go on a fuck ton of dates so you know what you're doing. This gives you options and it gives you abundance, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the ability to have options. And as I said, you get there with self-improvement and you get to realize your options by going out and playing the numbers game. I don't really need to spend a lot of time explaining how to avoid this because the whole channel, realistically, with the exception of the relationship stuff I talked about, the rest of the channel is all about, you know, improving yourself and then going out and finding these girls. And once you've built yourself up and once you've gone out and spoken to a shit ton of girls, gone on a shit ton of dates, hooked up with a bunch of girls, maybe you've dated a few girls simultaneously like me, ethically non-monogamous, live the lifestyle. At that point, you'll be in a situation where you find girls to build long-term relationships, build something special with, like Andy and Imi, like myself and one of the girls I'm seeing now. You can build something special without the feeling that you're settling, without the feeling that you're going to have to be stuck in something where you're not feeling it with that girl. Or if you're a girl, same thing, but with a guy, obviously. So those are my views on settling for someone that you're not attracted to. This is one of those fears I have that's more of a fuel. It's not something I want to run towards. It's very much making me run away from it towards, better options, a better life, better dating life specifically. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, Andy and I offer a group coaching program, which you can find information down below. He also offers $200 calls. Andy fucking changed my life. I've mentioned it enough times at this point. If you want to have your life changed too, and this time me and Andy will tag team you super fucking hard, we'll Eiffel Tower you to your success. All right? If you're interested, check information down below. Peace out.
It's me again, your other favorite ginger. Like I said, if you sign up for my coaching program in the next 7 days, you will get 18 weeks of coaching for the price of 12. Let Cam, let myself, let the other coaches and everybody else in the program help you get the life that you want. A lot of you have these amazing major life goals and dreams and hopes and things that you want. Let us speed run that for you and get you there in like 1/10 of the time and with 1/10 of the struggle and the pain and the sacrifice and all of that. So link is in the description below. Like I said, in the next 7 days, you get 18 weeks if you pay for full.